There is a very specific kind of purchase I enjoy finding. Not something covered in logos, not something expensive simply because someone decided it should be. I mean the kind of thing you see for the first time and immediately assume costs considerably more than it actually does. And that is the idea behind today's Luxe list. 7 Amazon finds from completely different categories that share one quality. They look polished, intentional, and far more expensive than their price category would suggest. We have fashion, beauty, jewelry, accessories, and one very practical wildcard at the end. And this time, I also want to explain exactly why each one works. Because looks expensive is not really about price. It is usually about proportion, color, texture, restraint, and a few design decisions that quietly make something feel elevated. All of the finds are linked below. Let's start with one of the easiest places to see this principle in action. Number 1. The Illuminating Skin Tint. There is a difference between makeup that looks expensive and makeup that simply looks like there is a lot of makeup. The expensive effect is usually quieter. Skin still looks like skin. Light catches the high points of the face. The finish looks hydrated rather than glittery, and the overall effect feels deliberate without becoming obvious. That is why an illuminating skin tint or glow enhancer can do so much with very little. Used lightly, it can make the complexion look fresher and more dimensional without creating that heavy, flat foundation effect. And this is where the comparison matters. On one side, imagine a completely matte finish under harsh light. On the other, a subtle reflective finish that catches the cheekbones, forehead, and bridge of the nose. The second one tends to read as healthier, softer, and more expensive. Not because the product necessarily costs more, because light is doing half the work. The key, of course, is restraint. If your face begins reflecting nearby traffic, we may have moved beyond illumination. Number 2. Sculptural gold earrings. Jewelry is one of the fastest ways to make a simple outfit look more considered, but the pieces that often look most expensive are not always the most complicated. In fact, the opposite is frequently true. A smooth pair of dome earrings or sculptural gold hoops can make a white shirt, black knit, blazer, or even a simple t-shirt feel much more finished. Why? Because shape matters. A clean, rounded surface reflects light in a controlled way. The form feels substantial. And because there are fewer tiny decorative elements, your eye reads the piece as one confident object rather than a collection of details competing for attention. Compare that with overly thin hardware, overly bright yellow finishes, or lots of unnecessary embellishment. The quieter version often looks more luxurious. It is the visual equivalent of lowering your voice and somehow becoming more convincing. And because earrings sit close to the face, even a small change can alter the entire impression of an outfit. Number 3. The cropped trench. A trench coat is already associated with classic dressing, but the cropped version does something especially useful. It keeps that structured, polished language while feeling lighter and more modern. This works because a trench naturally contains several details we associate with tailoring: lapels, seams, buttons, cuffs, structure, and a defined silhouette. Even when the piece itself is affordable, those visual cues make the outfit feel more intentional. Imagine the same basic outfit twice: straight leg jeans, a simple top, and flats. In the first version, nothing is wrong. In the second, add a cropped trench. Suddenly there is shape around the shoulders. There is contrast at the waist. The outfit has a beginning, middle, and end. It feels styled. That is the real trick. A good jacket does not simply cover the clothes underneath, it organizes them. And when the color stays neutral, beige, camel, stone, olive, black, it becomes considerably easier to make the whole look feel cohesive. Number 4. The slouchy handbags are dangerous territory because this is where people often start confusing luxury with logos. But remove the logo and what actually makes a bag look expensive? Usually 3 things: shape, material, hardware. A softly structured bag in chocolate brown, deep burgundy, black, taupe, or another rich neutral can look remarkably sophisticated if the silhouette is clean and the hardware is restrained. The best examples do not scream for attention. They simply sit there looking suspiciously well-dressed. Compare two bags of similar size. One has lots of exposed zippers, contrast stitching, bright hardware, multiple logos, and several visual interruptions. The other has one strong shape, subtle hardware, and a consistent finish. Even without knowing the price, most people will assume the second one costs more. That is visual hierarchy again. Fewer competing details allow the form itself to look stronger, and richer colors help. Chocolate brown and burgundy especially can make even a very simple silhouette feel more substantial than a bright synthetic-looking finish. The lesson here is useful far beyond handbags. When everything is trying to be the feature, nothing feels premium. Number 5. The Satin Scarf. This may be the smallest item on the list, but it is also one of the most versatile. A satin scarf can be worn around the neck, tied to a handbag, used in the hair, or folded into a very simple outfit as a small point of color. And its expensive-looking quality comes from something extremely basic: movement and sheen. Satin reacts to light. It changes slightly as it folds. That creates visual depth. So even a small piece introduces texture without adding bulk. Think about a plain cream sweater and trousers. Perfectly fine. Now add a scarf with a restrained pattern or a rich neutral palette. Suddenly the outfit has a focal point. Nothing else had to change. That is why accessories are often the most economical way to make clothing feel more sophisticated. You are not rebuilding the outfit. You are editing it, and editing is frequently where good taste lives. Number 6. The Mary Jane Flat. There is something very effective about a shoe that combines simplicity with one distinctive detail. That is exactly what a Mary Jane does. The basic silhouette remains clean, but the strap creates structure across the foot. That small line makes the shoe feel more designed. And in satin, suede-inspired finishes, deep neutrals, or jewel tones, the effect becomes even more pronounced. Again, compare. A very ordinary casual flat can disappear completely into an outfit. A Mary Jane creates a deliberate visual point near the bottom of the look. It can make jeans feel more polished. It can soften tailored trousers. It can make a simple dress feel more thoughtful. And because the shape has a slightly vintage reference, it often reads as a style choice rather than simply a practical shoe. The important part is balance. You do not need the shoe, the bag, the earrings, the scarf, and the jacket all demanding attention simultaneously. Choose one or two points of interest. Luxury rarely looks like everyone in the room speaking at once. Number 7. The Travel Jewelry Organizer. And finally, something much less glamorous until you actually use it. A compact jewelry organizer. This is one of those objects that can make ordinary belongings feel much more intentional. Loose earrings, necklaces, rings, and bracelets thrown into a bag immediately create visual and practical chaos. Place exactly the same pieces into individual compartments, and suddenly everything feels curated. Nothing about the jewelry changed. The organization changed. And organization has an enormous effect on how we perceive value. Luxury retail understands this extremely well. Objects are separated. They have space around them. They are presented rather than piled. A small travel organizer recreates some of that feeling at home or inside your luggage. It also solves the very real problem of necklaces somehow forming a legally recognized marriage with each other during a 2-hour flight. So this one earns its place for both appearance and usefulness. Conclusion. And that is the pattern behind this week's Luxe list. A glow product uses light to make skin look more dimensional. Sculptural earrings use simple shape instead of unnecessary detail. A cropped trench gives structure to basic clothing. A quiet handbag lets silhouette and color do the work. A satin scarf adds movement and texture. Mary Jane flats turn a practical shoe into a design choice, and a jewelry organizer proves that presentation can make even familiar objects feel more valuable. None of these ideas depend on pretending an affordable product is something it is not. That is not the point. The point is learning to recognize the visual decisions that make certain things feel more refined. Because once you understand those decisions, you become much better at finding them at almost any price. And that is really what Luxe for Less is about. Not buying the most expensive option, buying with a better eye. All 7 Amazon finds are linked in the description below. Take a look at the current options, choose the ones that make sense for your style, and remember, good taste is a point of view, not a price point. I'll see you in the next edition of the Luxe List.